Potent Productivity Podcast, where we pull back the curtain and dive into the real emotional journeys behind entrepreneurship. We're your hosts, Sarah
and Robert, and we know that building a business isn't just about crushing your to-do list or chasing overnight success. It's about navigating the ups and downs and unexpected turns that come with following your passion.
We're not here to sell you easy wins or rehearse the same tired success stories you've heard 1,000 times. We're here to talk about the moments when enthusiasm is buried beneath a mountain of tasks, when self-doubt creeps in, and when you're not sure where your road leads next.
So each week, we'll share raw conversations, real lessons, and practical strategies to help you reconnect with your creativity, build resilience, and rediscover what excited you about your business in the first place.
If you're ready for honest talk, community, and actionable inspiration, you're in the right place. Let's get real. Let's reclaim your potent productivity together. Hey everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Potent Productivity Podcast. Hey! So today we are talking about the real secret of imposter syndrome success. I don't know about you, Robert, but I have had huge issues with this situation. But you're an incredibly confident fella, I don't imagine you've had any trouble with this whatsoever. Yeah, so we're going to look at three different things today. So we're going to look at why imposter syndrome is Wreck-It Rose's favorite weapon of mass inaction. I'll explain all of that in a second. The second thing is that your most sensitive area becomes a gaping wound for others to poke at. And the third thing is that your net worth is your network is your net worth. There we go. Let's get it right. But not in the way that you think. So, welcome, Robert.
Welcome. Happy New Year. Yes,
Happy New Year. So, when it comes to imposter syndrome, I like to think of, the angel and the devil on your shoulder. If you've been listening to this podcast already, you will know that the angel is called Kick-Ass Katie and the devil is called Wreck-It Rose. I have pictures of the two of them here. This is Kick-Ass Katie and this is Wreck-It Rose. Now, Wreck-It Rose uses your emotions and your fears as what I like to call weapons of mass inaction, which basically means she will make you think that you're not worthy, you're not good enough, there's no way you should be doing this, and it stops you taking any action because she makes you hesitate, she makes you doubt yourself, and she just makes you second guess every decision you make. So, this is where imposter syndrome comes from. So, how's it shown up in your business? I'm interested to know, Robert.
Well, I got to ask you a question first.
Okay.
You don't look like an imposter to me. Where did this come from? Where were you ever an imposter in your business? Come on.
Yeah, before I did what I'm doing now, I was doing a sports injury treatment business, and I created a way of treating sports injury using movement because I came up as a personal trainer. I was in the exercise industry for over 30 years and then shifted into table-based treatment. So soft tissue treatment, that kind of thing. And I don't like, or what I learned was the two things were very separate. And it didn't make sense to me because I knew from my experience in exercise that movement was the key to making it stick in your brain when things were different. So I was trying to bridge that gap between the movement that I knew how to do and the treatment that I knew how to do on the table. And what I ended up creating was movement-based treatment. So people could access, or I could access, the muscles that I was trying to get at on the table without actually touching people. And they could do it themselves at home. But a lot of what I was learning about when I was trying to do this was going against everything that the fitness industry was saying. Now, if you know anything about the fitness industry, there's a huge emphasis on evidence. Right? So lab-based evidence, because there's a lot of people, a lot of contradicting advice. There's a lot of dangerous advice still out there. I totally understand where that approach has come from. So everybody who's trying to be sensible and safe in the fitness industry always goes back to the evidence, right? Scientific evidence. What I didn't realize was that evidence doesn't have to be lab based. It could be what they call empirical evidence, which is what I'm seeing as I'm helping people move, and the number of people I was helping, which was loads. And so I took it very personally when people started saying, "Where's your evidence?" Because I knew that there was no scientific proof behind what I was doing. I was just seeing the evidence from the people that I was helping. So I felt very sensitive about all of that stuff. And that's where the imposter syndrome came from, because I knew that I was putting something out there that was very different. And that was the one thing that I didn't have that would have made me go, "Do you know what? I don't care what you think." So
Hmm.
it would really stop me putting myself out there, especially when people could be very passionate about their beliefs and their approach in the fitness industry. And so sometimes that came across as being very mean and very negative and very aggressive. And that is not for me. So that's where my imposter syndrome came from. How about you?
Yeah, well, it's interesting. Before I tell you about mine, it's like, first of all, I don't like being called an imposter. Um, right? And it's
Yeah.
like, and I mean this jokingly, of course,
Yeah.
but no, but seriously, it's like, as a business owner, it's like, wow, what's this imposter syndrome about? What does that mean? Does that mean that I'm pretending to be a business owner? Does it mean that I'm pretending to know what I'm talking about? Does it mean that I'm not really delivering the value that I think I'm delivering? Does it mean that I don't really believe in what I'm doing? Do I mean that do I think that other people don't believe in what I'm doing? And then maybe I think that I shouldn't be doing what I'm doing because other people think I don't think I should be doing what I'm doing, blah, 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 blah.
Mhm.
And so it's very interesting because the word that shows up for me when I hear imposter syndrome is fraud, right? Where's the credibility?
Mhm.
Where's your validation? And you and I have some big name mentors in our common history,
Mhm.
who tell us some very interesting things about this, where it's just like, you know, who do you need validation from to do what it is that you think you need to do to have that fulfillment in your life, in your business, period? You know? And so I think that this is really such an incredible conversation because I know for me, I've dozens of businesses. I'll talk about my chocolate shop because I bought a chocolate shop in Washington, D.C. And at the time, that chocolate shop was one of the most well-known chocolate shops in the world.
Wow.
And it was the most well-known chocolate shop in all the Washington Metro DC area. And people would travel from different countries and get to Washington, DC and come directly to that chocolate shop. But when I took it over, I had already been in the chocolate world for, I don't know, a decade. And I'm thinking, oh, wow, I can't step into these. Who do I think I am?
Mm.
I don't know about. We were selling, we had some chocolate bars that were $50 for a chocolate bar.
Wow.
And I'm like, who do I think I am, to be able to talk about chocolate, to talk about the nuance of the flavors and this and that's and the other thing. I thought that I needed to know it all to be it all,
Mhm.
to get that credibility so other people would believe that I knew what I was talking about so that they could feel confident in spending, 10, 20, 30, 40, $50 on a chocolate bar,
Mhm.
type of thing. And so what was interesting is, the mental cartwheels, obstacle course, whatever that I put myself through to try to identify within myself what I thought gave me credibility to feel good about myself enough so that I could do what I needed to do to offer that value to other people. Now, if this doesn't make any sense, let's break it down, right? Because because everything in here is, I think everything's here that we need to extrapolate,
Mhm.
from what you talked about and what I'm bringing to the table here. Um, every solopreneur runs into this. If you're a coach, oh my God, it's like, great, you got your coaching certification, wonderful. And then, hey, there's a thumbs up. And then you're like, now what? How do I get a client? How? No, I can't charge $500 an hour. Who the hell do I think I am? Sorry, I cursed. But, it's like, what is it that I think I need to justify the value that I want to deliver?
Yeah, and it's interesting that you say the word credibility because I have jumped through so many hoops trying to get that credibility, believing that the next thing would be the thing that made all my business work. So, I went and did a master's degree in sports injury because everybody and his brother had an undergrad degree. I went and I got my fitness qualifications. I got them approved by the fitness industry internationally to try and get this credibility, but ultimately, I didn't have that. I thought I was just going to be found out to be somebody who didn't know what they were talking about, even though I've been doing it for over 20 years. You
Right,
know, there was still that element of doubt that I had in my head that Wreck-It Rose can just dial up at any
right,
moment,
right,
because most of the time you're cruising through your business and you're going, oh yeah, I can do this and I get this done, I get that done, and you're cooking on gas, as we say over here, and then all of a sudden the doubt creeps in, and then you stop doing the things that you need to do
right,
to promote the business,
right.
you know?
I absolutely, and this is going to sound aggrandizing or whatever, but it's like, in when I was in the information technology world and the cybersecurity world, et cetera, it's like I started getting certifications and it's like, oh, well, I still don't think I'm valid. I'll be valid when I get my first certification. Then people will start to believe me and then I'll have credibility. And then I'd get that big certification. Oh, wait, no, now I need this one. And no, now I need this one.
Yeah.
And then, it's like and in the coaching world, it's like I've got dozens of certifications. I have over like 60 some odd certifications. I'm not
Wow.
kidding. And
Yeah.
in all different kinds of fields and areas, because it's like, oh, that'll give me value, that'll give me credibility.
Yeah.
It does. I don't want to take away from that.
No.
You got your certification, in the oh my God, the funnels.
Oh yeah.
Uh
Yeah.
yeah, and it's like what the hoops that I how do I say this? My mentor, my coach, Steve says, Robert, you've created this incredibly complex mouse maze that where you are allowed to succeed, but you've made it nearly impossible because you keep putting these things in front of you. Oh, well, I can't possibly do that until I do this.
Yeah.
And I can't do any of that until I do, and so, and this is what we do as solopreneurs.
Yeah.
Oh, no, I can't do that until I do this. And I can't do this until I do that. And there's
Hmm.
always these and this is imposter syndrome.
Yeah.
This is telling ourselves that, oh no, I don't have what I need. I'm not who I think I am. I
Mhm.
don't have the skills. I don't have the tools. I don't have the resources. Lies, 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 lies.
Oh yeah. And I think the biggest one in business is if you're not earning, 5 figures a month, then you're not successful in your business.
Yeah,
But if you're helping somebody and they're paying you to do that,
right,
surely that's success. You can build on
right,
that success. There's elements of success. And I think that you're totally right. We just keep having these expectations of ourselves that we're never going to live up to until we
yeah,
start seeing
no,
the smaller success,
yeah,
you know? And
yeah,
I think that goes back to that belief that we have that when we're sensitive about something, it becomes this huge wound that other people can just poke at. And
right,
they don't need to be mean about it. They don't need to be aggressive about it. They can just say the one thing that we're super sensitive about and that will derail everything that we've been
right.
trying to do, you know?
And I think the best way to deal with that is for me to ask myself, why should I believe them? Why should I value their opinion over my own knowledge, my own experience? I can argue opinions all day long with somebody. I cannot argue experience.
No.
So whenever somebody pokes that sensitive area, I need to remind myself, oh, my experience is mine. It will never be anybody else's. And that's what makes me uniquely able and capable of serving somebody else
Oh yeah. Because
in
we're
a
not
way
trying to
that
serve the
nobody
whole of the
else.
world. Are we?
What's
We're
that?
not trying we're not trying to serve the whole of the world.
No, we can't.
So, if you can help one person,
Yeah,
great. Do that the best way you know how,
absolutely.
you know.
Absolutely.
But I think
No,
when your armor goes up, when somebody pokes that
yeah,
that wound and your armor goes up, then that instantly stops you giving. And it makes you, well, it makes me shrink. I know that. When that armor goes up and
of
it
course.
creates that
Yeah,
distance, it's like I don't want to feel that. I don't want to be that. So I'm just going to step away from that.
right.
Yeah.
And when we project our sense of self-worth on anything external to us, we always lose.
Oh yeah.
Always.
Yeah. I did that with finance for a long time.
Oh,
I know I'm not the only one that does that, you know, especially when you are responsible for your own income. I think
oh, oh,
it
yeah.
can be so demoralizing that you think that you're not worthy of anything because you can't break through that barrier, whatever barrier that might be to you. But yeah, that's so damaging. And I learned that the hard way.
Don't we all?
Yeah. Yeah, but it's really interesting though, because it kind of brings me to my other point, which was that your network is your net worth, right? But most people think of that as a financial thing. So they try and create a network of people that are going to help them.
Mm,
They're going to find the people who are going to buy their stuff, right? But it doesn't work that way because unless those people are feeding your sense of self-worth, they're never going to pay you any money, because you're not building relationships with people. You're just asking people for stuff all the time.
right.
And that builds a totally different network of people.
Yes, it does.
If you're constantly talking about business or you're constantly talking about things or you're constantly asking for something, then you phone somebody and they go, oh, here we go. What does she want now? Before you've even answered the phone, they see your
Yeah,
name on the phone and
yeah,
they're just like, yeah, I'll leave that till later.
yeah.
You
Or
don't
same thing.
want those kind of people.
No. Or when you see an email from them, it's like,
Exactly.
oh God, why did I subscribe to that one? And it's like,
Yeah.
when initially it was like, oh, there was great content and value, but it's like every other email is an email, buy this, buy this, buy this, buy this,
Yeah.
new offer, new offer.
Yeah.
I'm like, I feel like now I view them as being inauthentic, even though they have great credibility, even though they have great resources and great material.
Yeah.
I can't get through that wall
Hmm.
of stop trying to sell me stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
I
Yeah.
wanted to I connected with you because I found meaning in the content that you were delivering and I wanted to engage with that.
Hmm.
But you're not letting me engage. You're
Yeah.
just like sell, 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 buy this, and then I'll engage with you. And I think that's what's very different about you and I and what we're trying to do,
Mm.
not just together, but in our individual businesses. It's we know that, well, I know that I want to be able to provide information for people that they can take away and use to transform and build and grow their lives so that they can have greater fulfillment,
Yeah.
and experience the joy and peace in life that they want. And if all and I've been a victim of this, or a victim, perpetrator of this, whatever the word is, but where I was sending out all these emails, it's like because I believed all these other people. Every third email should be a sales email, and every second email should, and it's like, and I did that, and it's like, and then I watched my email list go smaller and smaller, unsubscribe, unsubscribe, unsubscribe,
Yeah.
because I was more focused on the structure of, okay, every email has to be about, putting in that offer, putting in this and that and the other thing. And it's just like,
Yeah.
people don't want that.
No, and I
I
think
don't
it's
want that.
it's really hard for somebody who's not socially outgoing like me
Yeah.
to try and contact these people or try and grow the business in a way that feels authentic and natural. And I think
Yeah.
that's a lot of where my imposter syndrome came from for me as well, because it
Yeah.
feels so weird because you feel like you're wanting something from these people all the time. And I think that's the
Oh,
difference
it's a
when
black
you're
hole.
exactly when you're looking at it from a financial perspective, it's what can I get from these people? But when it's from an emotional perspective, they fill you and you fill them, and then it's
Yes.
just helping them.
Yes. Yes.
And that's completely different in my
Yeah.
experience. And last year, I spent a lot of time building a network of people around me that filled my sense of self-worth. And it's totally changed everything for me.
Yeah.
The money was not a part of the conversation. You know, it need it didn't even enter the conversation for so much
Mhm.
time. And
Right.
then just listening to who these people are and what they're struggling with, and them listening to me. And I'm like, actually, I'm coming out with this thing, and maybe you want to be part of it, and just helping them so that I can get some experience of teaching and they can get some experience from me, and then we can all help each other. It's like that feels so much
Yeah.
nicer to me. It feels so much more authentic.
Right. Right.
And now I don't feel like an imposter because I'm just helping people.
Yeah, you're doing what you love. And that authenticity is a divining rod, you
Hmm.
know. That means everything. And because I'm sorry, you can fool everybody, but you can't fool yourself.
Oh, no.
You know, and you know it. And when you know you're fooling yourself, it feels yucky. It feels
Ah, yeah,
nasty and everything, right?
yeah,
And yet we think that we're supposed to because we're supposed to live up to all these external expectations, like you said.
yeah,
And when we do that, we just set ourselves up for just not just failure, but just for a horrible living experience inside ourselves because we know we're not being authentic to ourselves.
yeah,
And that's the hardest thing to navigate through, you
yeah.
know.
And I think the minute that I put the money aside,
Mm,
and I started getting more out of the relationship in a different way,
yeah.
everything changed and the money started flowing. And it sounds
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
strange that people are just
Right.
like, oh, yeah,
Right. Right.
behave like you don't need the money.
Right. Right.
But when most of us do need the money, it's really hard.
Oh, it's impossible.
So the thing that I have learned is like, if I can create financial stability for myself in a different way,
Hmm.
I'm not putting that desperation through every conversation that I'm having
There you go.
with
Yeah.
people
Right.
about my business. I
Yeah.
I'm financially stable enough to be like, okay, how would I build this business if I didn't need the money? How can I actually just help these people? And when you put that at the forefront of everything that you're doing, the opportunities and the creativity that comes out of that, because you know exactly how you're trying to help them and what they need, then everything just changes and it's so cool.
You know, I have to repeat something. I'm just finishing writing it down. I'm jotting this note down here,
Okay.
and I'm just going to restate it because I think it might be one of the most important things, that we've said.
Hmm.
And that is, how would I build this business if I didn't need the money?
Hmm.
Because I don't know about you, but me, when I was starting to become a coach, a dozen years ago or whatever, that it was like, okay, I'm a coach, I'm going to make $150,000 a year, and I'm only going to charge $50 an hour. And it's like, wait a minute. First of all, that number doesn't even make sense. It's not possible to make $150,000 a year at $50 an hour, coaching 10 people a week.
Yep.
Forget about it.
Yeah.
It's just not, but they don't teach that in the coaching world, and I know that a lot of people that are watching this, are probably coaches in
Hmm.
some form or another because we're serving other people, we're helping other people, and it's like the idea that, what do you mean money doesn't come first? Isn't money supposed to be important to me? Isn't my own personal livelihood supposed to be important? What do you mean I'm supposed to put that to the side? It's until we see it, we can't see it.
Hmm.
And the idea of desperation. every single one of you watching knows exactly what it feels like when you are being sold to, and you can see the desperation in their eyes, like, oh my God, if I don't get this sale, I'm screwed. We've all been there. We've all
Yeah,
done it. And
yeah.
it feels horrible no matter what side you're on,
Hmm.
and I never buy from somebody who's desperate. It's like, ooh, get away from me. I like you, but just, yeah, no, I can't, because that's all that's coming through, even though they're not saying it. But we've got our little mirror neurons up here, and we can feel other people's things going on. So it's really important to recognize that your state of mind, your presence within yourself, is always going to reflect through. And if you're not being authentic, you're not going to get the people that you really want to serve in your network.
Yeah.
And I think, just to restate what you said, that is the worth of your business,
Mm.
is that real authenticity
And it's
more than
interesting because my granddad he was the one person in my whole life who understood me, or that's how it felt anyway. So he was my business mentor, he was my sounding board, he was he was everything, you know.
wow.
And so when he got pneumonia and he was in hospital, and when I went to see him, one of the last things he said to me was, "Don't lose sight of the business." Okay, because he was a very successful accountant and he was all about the numbers and all this kind of stuff. He did my accounting books, my finances, my tax returns and all that kind of stuff well into his 90s. And so I I had real trouble with the whole idea of business is about money because it's never really been that important to me,
Hmm.
you know? And so when he said don't lose sight of the business, and then 2 years later, my business hit the wall and everything just disappeared, I really felt like I'd let him down, and it was painful to me. So what I realized was that I wasn't being authentic when I was trying to live up to what I perceived that his expectation of me was. I thought he meant that business was all about the money. And I've since realized it's not about that at all. The money comes when you connect with people emotionally,
Yeah.
but I didn't know that. And so I spent so many years feeling like I let him down. But now he'd be so super proud of who I am and what I'm doing. And he always was, but
Yeah.
sometimes it takes you to step down a little bit to understand these things.
Can I tie these a couple things together here?
Of course.
Because, earlier you stated that if it's best if you had a sustainable source of income
Hmm.
coming in from somewhere else, instead of putting all the pressure on the business you're trying to build, to give you that income, to pay your rent and your car insurance and blah, blah,
Hmm.
blah, the basics of living, your
Hmm.
groceries, etc. Because when all that pressure is residing on just trying to extract that out of one business, yeah, that's pressure.
Hmm.
That's insane pressure, and it doesn't feel good, and
No.
it steals from your ability to be creative. It
Oh
really
yeah.
does. I know. I'm talking from experience.
Yeah.
And because I did it for years. I've had over 30 businesses. And so I've been through all kinds of gyrations, and I know it's like, great, okay, I'm going to start this business. This is my goal. I'm going to make this much a year and this much a month and this much a week and a day. And these are going to be the people working with me, et cetera, et cetera. And it's like, okay, I'm starting with, $10,000 or $20,000, whatever it is. And I've got no other source of income. So right away, I have to start making money. So not only can my business grow and I can pay the people that are supporting me and pay for the products and services and all the underlying marketing, but also to pay for my groceries and my rent and my blah, blah, blah.
Yeah. And I started that at 23,
You know,
right? I started my
you
own
were a late
business at
bloomer.
age 23. Yeah,
You
yeah.
were a late bloomer.
Yeah, totally. But that that pressure has been in my life the whole of my adult life,
Oh,
almost.
ugh.
Yeah, it's crazy. Yeah.
But we don't know any different because we keep listening to, these. to other business folks, whoever they are, that really don't know.
Hmm.
Or they're just selling us stuff that they've convinced us is the truth.
Yeah.
And then we apply it in our lives and we're wondering why it's not working.
Yes.
And then we think that there's something wrong with us.
Oh,
And
completely.
wrong answer.
Yeah.
There's not something wrong with us.
No.
We have just put somebody else's value above our own.
Absolutely.
Never do that to yourself
No.
again. Right now, here, right now, make a commitment.
Yeah.
It's like never put someone else's value ahead of your own,
Hmm.
because that's when we trip and fall and we feel crappy about ourselves.
Yeah. And I would add to that, never put monetary value above help value.
Oh,
You know,
right. Oh, yeah.
if you can help
That's it.
somebody, that's worth more than the money you will get paid for that help. Because sometimes you don't get paid for that help until later on. And then the return is so much bigger because you
Right.
consistently helped that person.
Right. Right.
So that investment in helping somebody is going to be returned in spades at some
Yeah.
point.
Yes, they will.
So,
And I think it's important to state too that it's perfectly fine to set financial goals for yourself.
mhm,
In fact, you should. You should have a business plan. If you, well, this hopefully this will be another topic at some point, but
yeah.
this ties in right here because, regardless of what kind of solopreneur you are, what kind of business you have, you need a business plan. You need some form of structure so that you know how you're going to operate, so that you know what your priorities are, what's important, what's not important, how you're going to make your decisions, when you need to know to change your mind, change your decisions, etc.
Mhm,
You know, and without that, you're just blowing in the wind.
yeah.
And coming from my own experience, I've run a couple businesses that way. I don't need no stinking business plan. I got it all written up here, and then, life comes along and then without a plan, everything
Yeah.
explodes.
I prefer to call it a framework.
A framework, that's great, that's perfect, because it's a living thing. It's not something that's set in stone, but
Yeah.
having that framework is really important,
Yeah.
you know. And this is what we're doing here with this podcast.
Oh, absolutely.
We
Yeah.
are trying to help you create a framework for you, that's going to work for you. And the framework that works for you is not going to be the framework that works for everybody else.
Nope.
You know, yes, in the book, Stop Doing It All, in the Potent Productivity, there is a structure,
Mhm.
but how you apply it is what builds your framework
Yeah.
that's unique to yourself and what will create the success that you want in your life, in your business.
Yeah, and that's exactly what we teach in the academy and show you how to apply all of that kind of stuff. And people have been through the academy now and they're like, oh, wow,
Oh,
I didn't realize that I had all of these pieces. I just didn't understand how to put them together for me, you know? So yeah, it's so powerful when somebody explains
yes.
kind of the unwritten side of business, the emotional side of business, how it all fits in with who you are and what you want to do. And when you come from that place of genuine authenticity, you can't help but be successful in your business.
That's brilliant. Yeah.
Cool.
And so learning from our podcasts is wonderful. Learning through the academy is amazing. Starting with the book is a great place to start as well, but start,
Oh
because
yeah.
if you keep doing what you've always done, you're going to keep getting what you always got.
This is very true. Yeah. Yeah. If
And
you need
obviously you
links
don't
to
like what
any
you
of
got.
that stuff, if you need links to any of that stuff, just go to potentproductivity podcast.com and then
Say
you'll,
that
you can
again.
subscribe to the podcast. You can get the links to all the things that you need from there.
Yep.
Cool.
Potent
So what's
productivity.
your biggest takeaway from today, Robert?
Just one?
Well, okay. Whatever takeaways you've got, give it to me.
Wow. Um, how would I build my business if I didn't need the money?
Mm,
I love that. I just
yeah.
love it, So, but I think that the second, because that just allows me to be authentic.
Mhm.
It allows me to do what I think I want to do with my business and serve people the way that I want to serve them without, um, how do I want to say, without having to live up to anyone else's expectations of what they think my business is supposed to be.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that
Yeah.
that sensation or that understanding of the fact that your financial stability may start out from somewhere else
Oh yeah.
is really not a reflection of how badly you're doing your business. That again, that's where a lot of that imposter
Oh,
syndrome comes from. Oh, I'm
yes.
not earning, enough to live on in my business right now. Okay, great. Fine. That does not mean you are unsuccessful, you know? So yeah, I think for me, it's interesting. I think I would kind of play off that a little bit. You said if I how would I build my business if I didn't need the money? But how would I build my business if I didn't have imposter syndrome? Like if I could feel 100% belief in who I am and what I'm doing and have confidence in that, how would I build my business then? Because I'm not playing small anymore.
Right.
I'm going out there and doing what makes me happy,
Right.
what gives me confidence and what I know how to do. And I think the two are very, very different things.
Mhm.
So when you combine them, then the world is your oyster.
There you go. Or
Cool.
snowball, as in our case.
Oh, yes. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I've really enjoyed this conversation, Robert. Thank you so much for your
Ah,
time
yeah.
today. And
Brilliant as always.
yeah, I look forward to next time. I'm interested to know to all the listeners out there, and what's your biggest takeaway from today? Let us know in the comments. Don't forget to subscribe. You can do that at potentproductivitypodcast.com. And you'll get all the links to all the places you can get the podcast in case you're seeing it somewhere other than YouTube. So
Brilliant.
there you go. Thanks
All
so
right.
much for listening, and we'll see you next
Thank you
time.
both. Cheers.
Bye.